you so much for being here tonight and this whole thing, for the organisers getting me over here, everything. I've got so much love already. I'm on this mad high, man, and that's always the vibe at these things. So I just want to say I just appreciate meeting every single one of you. Thank you all so much for your encouragement, and oh man, it's just such good vibes here. So yeah, man, just give yourself some love. Give yourself a round of applause just for being here. Sweet. What's up, Joey? Yeah. All right, man. Brought my mate Joey with me. So I think this is a Q&A, which is good because I only found out day before yesterday that anything was happening with me here tonight, so I didn't plan nothing. But I do have answers to questions sometimes. But I think I would just say a little something. Because I got a speech on tomorrow, so that's all kind of figured out or whatever. But what I do want to say is just that a couple of things. Firstly, every single person here who is vegan, who is curious, who has attended, who is going to learn something this weekend, every single person here is an integral part into making this world a better place. Every single person here has a role to play. Every single person here is a warrior in one way or another for change, for the animals, for making this world a better place. And I think we all get caught up in this person has so many followers, 1 million followers, this person, gets all these views on their videos and this and that. But you know what? The person that inspired me he wasn't even on the internet. You know what I mean? The person that you speak to, that one conversation you have with somebody, you might change their life forever. And they might change someone's life. And that next person might inspire 10 million people. So what I'm trying to get at here is that each and every one of us makes a difference. Each and every conversation we have plants seeds that grow into something amazing. What we've got is a gift. It is to be shared. It is so positive. The things that are happening on this planet right now are so wrong. The injustice is so huge. The victims are so innocent. And we know it. And we can make a change, and that change can be as simple as having conversations with people, teaching them what veganism is, showing them the delicious vegan food that we got, just breaking these stereotypes, answering people's questions. Amazingly, just by those simple acts, truly we can make this world such a better place. We have so much power. So I just want everyone here to leave this weekend, if nothing else, just feeling empowered and realizing the power that you've got. Because what we know truly has the potential to change this world and to reduce so much suffering, and to reduce so much suffering and to just increase the peace so much. So keep that in mind, and that's all I'm gonna, yeah man. This is big, man. This is so big. It seems like, of course, if you're against animal cruelty, obviously you go vegan. Yeah, now it's obvious. Before you were all like, nah, but plants have feelings, and if we don't eat them, they'll kill and eat us. It's simple now. It makes sense now. But before we make that connection, it's miles away. So it's a truly amazing connection that we've made, and it's something to be shared. Now, I think this is supposed to be a Q&A. So, I guess, I'm an open book about all things in life, vegan related. I've got a history with drugs, I've got a history with cancer, bulimia. I've done over 150 speeches for free all around the world. I've done a vow of silence for 1 year. I've been tattooed for 25 hours. I'm a Vipassana meditator, which is the craziest thing ever. I'd love to talk about that. But what I'm saying is, if you've got any questions about anything at all, in any way do you think I might be able to help you or answer something that's not clear, throw your hand up and I'd love to do my best to try to help you out. Yeah.
From watching certain speeches of yours, I was very inspired about how you can really relate to all parties, and I'm wondering maybe techniques or experience you have of bringing activists together that are really, really different. So there's a huge diversity, and obviously they all have something to gain. How can you show them kind of how we're all one and we can all,
That's a really good question. Thanks for asking. Everybody hear that? Oh, good. All right. So, something that is quite clear in the vegan movement is that there's a lot of division, there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of aggression hurled towards other activists even. No matter how good a job you're doing, you're probably going to get it. And it's a sad thing because, you know, there's not a lot of vegans out there growing every day, but there's still not a lot of vegans out there. There's not a lot of vegan activists dedicating their life to this out there. So it's not about, you know, telling each other, you should be doing it like this, you should have said it like that. Man, we're all trying to do our best. And we all got different ideas of what the best is. Something that I might say to somebody that could turn them to go, that could inspire them to go vegan, that might not work on somebody else. That's why it is important that we have a wide variety of approaches, that we have a wide range of people and diversity in this movement who are active and being activists. So it's not about, just because you might not understand somebody else's approach or even agree with it, you know, there's ways that we can talk about that without trying to bring someone down and bringing negativity to the movement. I've seen it so many times. Good activists, great activists, maybe not the way I do things, but still making a significant difference, full of passion and heart for the cause. And they get slammed by other vegans because of their approach. And then that's it. Oh, I have to take a few months off social media. You know, I can't do this for a while. Like, who is that helping? I tell you who it's not helping. It's not helping the animals. And think about it. Like, comparatively, nothing is happening worse than that. What's happening to them, if we just keep that in the forefront of our mind, what is happening to them and what they're going through, these petty little squabbles become so meaningless, and it becomes all the more important and vital that we are respecting each other in this movement. You don't have to like everybody, but respect everybody. And if someone's doing something that you really think's wrong, you can call them out, but do it in the right way. So when it comes to vegan activism, there's so many ways of doing it. Understand that what might work for you, what you might agree with, isn't necessarily something that everyone's going to resonate with or agree with. And I think we have so much more in common than what we have different. So, you know, like I respect a lot of activists that I do things completely different to. And I think when we can keep that in mind, that we all got our heart for animals, we're all in it for the right reasons, and to encourage people, I think that can make, you know, that can change the vibe of this movement. So many people see, like, how do people view vegans? Tell me, how do they view vegans? Angry, aggressive, pushy, what else is there? Extreme, militant, annoying. Judgy, huh? Skinny, yeah. That's a good thing, man. People want that. Right? Okay, like, how sad is that? That's true though. Angry, extreme, militant, annoying, pushy, judgmental, aggressive. Oh man, sounds like a real fun party. I'll definitely be keen. Well, it is fun, but they don't know. Right? We got to change that, you know? Like, sometimes I feel like letting loose on people, man. And like, strangling them, let's be honest here. But I would never do that, because I realised that one of the most important things we can do to help the animals is to break these stereotypes, because these are sticking points for people. These are reasons why people won't go vegan. I don't want to go vegan, they're also angry, they're also militant. I don't want to become one of those annoying vegans. When I want the future to become this, when you ask, what did everybody think of vegans? People are like, man, peaceful, loving, respectful, encouraging, inspiring. Oh, I wish I could do what they do. You know, they're so kind, they're so compassionate. Like, that's what we are. Everyone's like, annoying, angry, aggressive. Man, you know, so there's this other side of this to show. But for people to realise that, for outside people who aren't vegan, to realise that that's what this is about, that that's what we're about, the only way that that can happen is to model that behaviour. To show that that's it. No one wants to go to a party full of people like that. They're not coming, man. If you want people to come to this amazing party, you need to invite James and Joey from Australia. No. If you want people to come to this party, it has to be something good, you know? It has to be, it's about justice, it's about respect, it's the least we should do. It's a clear message still. But it's also encouraging, you know, good on you, yeah, you're moving in the right direction. Keep going, hey, have you tried this recipe? Not like, yeah, well, you're vegetarian, you're a murderer, you know? And if you don't go vegan tomorrow, then forget it, don't ever bother. Like, you know, we got to just change our language and have a bit of patience and come from a place of compassion and respect. That's what this is about. And when we do that, I'm just talking through my own experience. Again, like, if you disagree, that's totally fine. You know, I'm talking to a demographic where I think this resonates with the mainstream people. You might not care about that. You might be specific to someone else. So we can disagree on this. But in my experience, you know, I've been advocating veganism every single day for nearly 4 years. Every single day, like from the moment my eyes crack open till when I drag my phone, like I have to throw it across the room at like 4 a.m. sometimes so I can stop arguing with that person. You know, that's what I've noticed. I've tried other approaches, and by far this has been the most effective way to shine light to, and it's more sustainable for us because we don't need to generate that anger and that frustration and things like that. We can generate good things, good feelings, and be even more effective. It's positive in any way, in every way. I don't know if that answered your question. I forget what it was.
It answered everyone's question.
Thanks. Yes. No worries. Thanks for having me.
Coming. Thanks for coming, Joey, my new best friend. Vipassana meditation. How has it affected your activism, and how differently do you think your approach would be if you hadn't discovered it?
Well, do you know Gary Yourofsky?
Yes.
That's what I'd be like. Best dude ever, don't get me wrong, he's done amazing things, but that's what I started doing. So Vipassana meditation, I'll tell you. Vipassana meditation is the place where I first had the idea to do a 1 year long vow of silence for the animals. It's a meditation course where you go there, you meditate 10 hours a day for 10 days. You don't look at anybody, you don't talk to anybody, you just sit and you meditate for 10 hours a day. I'm not selling it well because that sounds so not fun. But I promise you, nothing has, you know, when people tell me they've gone vegan, you know the feeling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. When people tell me they're going to Vipassana, I get stoked on a whole nother level because veganism's the gift for the animals, but Vipassana is the gift for us. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. The theory goes, this is how the story goes. The Buddha, who was just a normal dude, he was like a scientist and he was studying the body. Where does suffering begin? How does this start? And what he learned is that suffering begins when we react. Through reacting, we crave things that we don't have, which causes suffering, or we resist things that we don't want, which causes suffering. And he went into the body, he meditated, he discovered a technique that is called Vipassana. That's how the story goes. I wasn't there, I don't know if this actually happened. And this technique, so you go to this course, this 10-day course, it's donation based, and they just teach you this technique. It's about observing the physical sensations of the body while remaining equanimous, which means you just accept moment by moment, you're at peace. If it feels good, cool, you're not getting attached. If it feels bad, it's all good, it will pass, there's no need to get attached. And that's the technique, right? It sounds kind of, it's weird, like this is how I describe it. Doing this to get strong and big muscles, it's like, what, is that all you got to do? Like, you have to hold weight, obviously, but that's all you got to do. But what it does, the benefits you get from just that small movement are huge. And Vipassana is such a simple technique, but the benefits are absolutely incredible. So after my first Vipassana course, the first 10-day course, I've done 7. After my first Vipassana course, I felt like I'd left a 20-kilo luggage. 20, do you do kilos here? Like a 60, do you do pounds here? Stone? I don't know what you do here. Where am I? A really heavy suitcase full of garbage, right? Things that I thought were true that aren't true. Beliefs that I had about myself that I wanted to let go. It's like I left it behind and I never picked it up again. I came out of there lighter. It was weird. The only way I can describe it is like there was more space in between my cells. Pretty trippy, but that's how I felt. It was amazing. And this is where I started coming from more of a compassionate place, realizing that it's about also having compassion for ourselves. Again, it's about modeling good behavior. We want a compassionate world. It's got to start with us. Peace has to start inside of us. And so that is basically what I got through this meditation is I learned a technique that you can practice every day that reduces your anxiety and your stress and your anger and your frustration, and it increases, or maybe what is already there finally gets to shine. It's like there's a bright light inside of you. It's covered with all those negative things I mentioned, and the technique, it just strips off a layer of that negativity one by one, so that shining light of peace and kindness and love and happiness gets to really shine out of you. And that's kind of the benefit I got through that meditation. I just grew in happiness. I just woke up, I'm like, I'm happy, and I just woke up. Nothing even good's happened yet. It's just there inside of you. And how has it affected my activism? So I used to model the behavior of people who had already been successful activists. And one of them was Gary Yourofsky, who has been a phenomenally, exceptionally effective vegan advocate. But his style wasn't really me. And I tried to be that. I'm like, nah, man, you got to be a hard ass, like, you know, you got to do it this way. He's the most successful that I know of. I'm going to just do what he done. And I realized it wasn't working for me. I wasn't having great success. And I thought, man, I've learned so much through this meditation. You know, maybe I should just try what I've learned. Maybe I'll communicate in this more peaceful way and focus on lifting people up rather than blaming and shaming. You know, and that's what I did. And what I realized is this has been such a more effective form of communication, and it's all through the meditation. One of the best pieces of advice. Okay, my three best pieces of advice. If you're not vegan, go vegan. If you are vegan, become an activist. To increase the amount of peace inside of your life, do Vipassana meditation. They're my top 3 life tips for you. So I can't tell you how much benefit I've got from it, how much it's changed my life. I wouldn't be the activist I am today, not even close. And I think when people, one of the biggest questions I get from people is, how do you stay so calm? I wish I could talk to people like you do. I get so angry, I have to walk away. I can't do that. And I really thank this technique, which is, it's not a secular technique. It's not about religion or Buddhism or anything. It's just this very simple technique that anyone can practice. I very much thank that teaching and that coming into my life for me being able to spread the message in a way that I do, because it's good for me. And at this point, I definitely think it's the best way, at least, that I can help animals, and it's having a great effect. So do it. Thanks for your question. Yes, mate.
I was just wondering if you could just elaborate on your second piece of life advice. Go vegan and then be an activist.
Yeah.
I just want you to elaborate on
Yeah,
that.
cool. Great. That's good. We're hitting the good topics. I wanted to talk about meditation and obviously activism. Vegan activism can come in so many shapes and forms. Not everyone wants to get on the streets and interview people. Not everyone wants to get up here and do speeches. I didn't even want to do that. I don't know how this all happened. Not everyone is a good cook and wants to cook delicious vegan food. Not everyone wants to organise this event. I definitely don't want to do that. I barely get to these things on time, as you can see just from then. Not everyone wants to write a book. Not everyone wants to make YouTube videos. But do you see how many different ways there are that you can spread this message? You can paint pictures. There's photos here. Someone's just telling me about their work here. You can think of quotes. You can take pictures of beautiful animals. You can have a sanctuary. You can make a clothing line. You can just have conversations. Literally, to be a vegan activist, you don't even have to change really anything in your life. Whatever your skill is, whatever you are good at, whatever your strength is, all I would say is point that in the direction of helping animals. So already I was a personal trainer and I was interested in helping people, and I was good at talking to people and, you know, things like that. I just used those skills that I'd learned through personal training for 8 years to encourage and inspire people to go vegan. Before I was like, you should really, you know, try to lose some weight and you should really try to get off those medications. And I'd use those skills to inspire those people. I learned them. I now point it to vegan education. Someone might be a painter. They've been painting amazing whatever all their life. Now that they're vegan and they want to be an activist, they're going to paint vegan messages. You know what I'm saying? What is your skill? What is your strength? What do you enjoy doing? How can you contribute? Whatever it is, point that in the direction of helping animals. Point that more specifically, point that in the direction of promoting a vegan message. Because there's a lot of people helping animals that aren't vegan, right? They're hurting animals, they're also trying to help animals. But only people that can promote veganism are vegans. So in one way or another, make the message about veganism as best that you can. And a really good way to get this conversation started, whenever someone asks me, what do you do, man? I always say I'm a vegan activist or I'm an animal rights activist. And that always, what's going on over there? That always gets a conversation started. You know, sometimes it's just about having the conversations. The first thing you should do as an activist, though, in my opinion, is to get educated. What's going to happen almost every single time you eat with people who aren't vegan, conversations are going to come up. Your friend's going to be like, what the hell, man, you went vegan? What's that about? Where are you going to get protein from? People, freak out because they think you're going to just fall in a heap and all your muscles will evaporate or something. So, first thing, become an educated activist. When you are educated, you can tell people the answers to these questions, and every single time you do that, you are cracking with a sledgehammer into their wall of excuses. That is the thing that is stopping them from moving forward and becoming vegan. They've got a long list of excuses. I had a long list of excuses. Everyone does. Your job, very first thing, is to learn the answers to these excuses so you can cross them off their lists and move them towards, when they've got no excuses left, the only thing that makes sense is to go vegan, right? That's the best chance we've got. So first things first, my opinion, at every single vegan, what they should do is become educated in learning the answers to those most common questions. And also, second thing I would suggest is to start focusing on utilizing your strengths, what you've already got, or what you enjoy, or where you see that you can fit into this in one way or another, and doing it, and taking those steps so that you can actually contribute. There's nothing more meaningful. Look, there's things that are very meaningful in life, but what we're talking about here is the sustainability of this planet. We're talking about human health. You just help one person go vegan in your time. You're going to add years to their life. You're going to reduce the amount of suffering they're very likely to go through. Now, these are things we can do for our family and our friends and even strangers. Even if you help one person go vegan, that's such a significant thing that you have done. Such a positive thing. So don't feel, oh, I haven't helped 1,000 people go vegan. You've helped one, that is amazing. You've literally, you've added years to someone's life and reduced the amount of suffering they've ever gone through. So there's so many ways we can do it, and I would just say, realize how important it is that we do, because I knew I forgot something now. It's like, where's my train of thought here? Most importantly, is that the animals are truly in a, it's so hard to articulate this, isn't it? What they're going through, I mean, it's a real life horror movie. It's a nightmare. It's just terror and torture and pain and abuse and murder. Those words are just pointers to something that you will never fully be able to understand how horrific it is. And by you using your time to be a vegan activist in some way or another, you are helping them. You are helping the most innocent and vulnerable beings of this planet. What could be more important than this? It's so all-encompassing. It's humans, it's this planet, it's those animals. We have a purpose, such an important purpose that truly saves lives. We are like heroes to these animals when we start promoting vegan activism. Yeah, so that's that.
Hello. Hey, James.
Thanks for your question. Thanks, man.
Hey.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, nice to meet you.
You too, man. What's your name?
My name's Andy.
Nice to meet you, bro.
You've sent me one reply on voicemail on Facebook to one of my questions, which is...
That's lucky.
So,
cool, man. What was
appreciate
that about?
It was about B12.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
My question goes kind of back to the excuses you mentioned and how the long list of excuses. I've bought Eat Like You Care, like you suggest, to try and get better at answering those questions. There's one that's kind of niggles at me, and it's diet related. And the reason I have to kind of go back a few years ago when I tried to go vegan, and I think I didn't eat enough tofu or something. But
you gotta eat your tofu, man.
Yeah.
What kind of vegan are you trying to be?
As I've now learned, yeah. So I tried to go vegan, and I stayed vegan for nearly like 2 years, but my weight plummeted. I lost all my strength. I obviously wasn't eating the right things, and then I started eating meat again. But luckily my wife turned vegan last year.
Good work, wifey.
So yeah, I owe it to her to kind of put me back on the right track, and sorry for waffling on, but
got a question, man, or what?
So the question is basically now I'm eating lots of tofu and pea protein shakes and things like this. I've been totally fine, luckily. So I'm now kind of like really trying to advocate the thing. However, like my question is that if people are, for example, say soy intolerant, and from my experience, that has been a really key factor in getting what you need diet-wise. And they say, well, I can't eat soy. I mean, I'd love to say to this person, no, it's still the best thing you can do. But how can you answer that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Finally, nah, I'm just kidding. That's kidding, man. Thanks for sharing your story, brother. That's true. There's a lot of people who will be intolerant to this or that, and this is going to come up, and it's a really good question because, you know, for me, I'm not intolerant to anything. I eat all vegan food, you know. I just say I'm intolerant to animal cruelty if anybody asks. Like, I can eat any vegan food. I'm really lucky. And a lot of people are like that, but there are some people who are going to struggle with just eating, you know, tofu or eating even greens or nuts or, you know, it does happen. The beauty is, though, that, you know, with the amount of vegans there are now, there's almost always somebody that's already been through something similar to this, and there's so many Facebook groups and forums online where you can ask these questions. We've got nutritionfacts.org with a search feature, which, got a few fans of Gregor in the house. He is a legend, isn't he? So, you know, but what I'm saying is, you got a food intolerance, okay, no matter what it is, there's a way around it, there's a way it can be done. I know people that are vegan that they're on the most, they've eliminated almost every food from their diet. It's amazing. You know, not out of choice because they get very bloated when they eat almost anything. They're still vegan, they can still do it. And there's generally as well, with the amount of, there's literally thousands of plant foods, there's ways we can do it. They're still delicious. So you're still getting all the nutrients you need. We've got an abundance of supplements. If it really gets to that point as a last resort where you need to start supplementing, things like that, the point is that there's very, very rarely any reason why someone couldn't be a vegan. Almost never. And the information is out there to find. So I guess I would say for someone like yourself, or someone who wasn't eating tofu or something like that, it's just about, you know, we've got a beautiful community here where every vegan is just dying to help someone go vegan. That's like our thing. We're like, everyone needs to go vegan now. We're keen, we're ready. And I think that for those people, or if you know someone who's like that, we can reach out to each other, we can reach out to people who've already been through this and get those answers. They're already out there, you know, the answer to every question. So far, after almost 4 years, it's already out there. But I guess a really good thing to do as well, if you're not sure, is to get a blood test, see where are your levels at. Use chronometer.com so you can put in the foods and see the nutrient values of everything you're getting, the vitamins and minerals, percentage of each day, so you're hitting that quota. Like
Calories as well.
Yeah, making sure you're getting enough vitamins, minerals, making sure you're getting enough calories each day, absolutely. And when you're doing that, and when, you know, like, we've got all these things at our disposal, so I guess it's about becoming aware of them, being aware of what you need to do. If you're feeling like crap, yeah, you're probably doing something wrong, because being vegan feels amazing, man. So there's probably something going wrong there, and it probably is diet related. And a lot of people, they go vegan, they're like, all right, they go vegan. It's like this, right? One time when I was traveling from I was cycling from Darwin to Sydney, which is like 5,000 kilometres. I don't know how many miles that is, maybe like 3,000. And I stopped off at this, it's like a roadhouse thing. I look at the menu and I was like, oh God, I got nothing here. I'm gonna eat drinking water on this trip. And then there was this like this T-bone steak with peas and corn. And I was like, I'll have the T-bone steak with peas and corn minus the T-bone steak. And they were like, what? Okay, just heaps of veggies. And they go, sweet. And the plate came out, and there was the peas and the corn, and where the steak would have been, it was just empty. It was empty. I was like, why don't you just... don't worry about it. That's what vegans do, man. People go vegan, and they just take off, a lot of time, they take off the animal products, and then they just leave it bare. And we got to fill it with other things, with beans, with rice, with potatoes, whatever. But the way to find out, chronometer.com, nutritionfacts.org, and ask each other, ask in these forums. There's so many educated vegans out there, and many of them have already been through the problems that you're already faced with. That goes for not just nutrition, any ethical questions, anything like that. You know, ask each other. So thanks for your question, man. No worries. Okay.
What's the worst reaction you've ever had, like during like an argument or a conversation or something, and how did you react to it?
Good question.
Thanks. You just watched my Christian video, didn't you? I knew that would come back to haunt me. So that's a good question. What's been my worst reaction? Okay, I'm gonna balance it out by telling you my worst and my best reaction. So, the worst reaction I had was really my fault. And you know what I've realized? So anyone who hasn't seen the video, it's called Vegan vs. Christian. And it was in Norway a couple of months ago. This man was arguing that it's his right to kill and eat animals because of his beliefs, his religious beliefs. And I was saying that no compassionate God figure would think that the better choice when you can kill to survive and not kill to survive, no compassionate God would choose to do the killing of these innocent beings. Surely. That was basically my argument. What I realise now is that actually why I found that I've done so many Q&As, man, you know, with non-vegans, and they've tried to get me, and I've never had an issue, even with the tough questions, because I know the answers. I've really worked hard on learning the answers to these questions. In Australia, you know, we don't have a lot of religious people asking me stuff. There's not that much religion like there was that was in Norway or in the USA and things like that. And I realized that the reason why I reacted the way I did, which was frustrated and kind of angry and a little aggressive, and people are like, you were chill, man, but I know because I felt myself change, and maybe it's a little bit more subtle than most people realize, but I know what happened. And what I've realized after, because I was tired, I was jet lagged, but what I really understood was that the reason I reacted like that is because my argument for that particular question wasn't as strong as the others. And you know, I realize now, because people always say to me, I can't answer those questions, I get like this and I get angry. I think a lot of that feeling comes from not being able to articulate it and do the answer, you know, do the animals justice. And that's what I felt in that moment. I felt like I didn't do the animals justice. So that was the worst I've reacted personally. And that video got like 1 million views though, and it planted a lot of seeds, and a lot of Christians have actually gone vegan since that video. So it actually worked out really good. That guy like totally helped me out, which was wicked. Silly man. Okay. One time I was doing a speech in Melbourne in Australia, and halfway through 2 people walked in, angry people, glaring at me. You know, I had a pretty sweet crew, so they come in halfway and totally ruin my vibe, and they're just like and I'm like, man, what's going on? Who are these people? What are they doing here? They're lost. I'm telling all these jokes and they're not everyone's laughing, they're just like, nah, man, I don't think that's funny. I'm like, man, come on, that's a good one. And then, so speech finishes, clap, 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 they didn't clap. Oh, come on. And then Q&A, first question from the man. That's all well and good, James. What about the farmers? I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Now I know why you didn't think it was funny. You don't like me. Dairy farmers, they were. Man, the husband and wife, and I did my best to answer their question, right? And I was good at first. I'm like, listen, I'm all for helping the farmers. We need an exit plan for you. I want to make this easy for you, which is someone needs to do this. This is activism I can't do. Creating an exit plan for the farmers so they can easily get out and into something ethical. I said, that's what we need, you know, and I feel for you and your family, but industries go out of business all the time, and the bottom line is that we should never put profit over an individual's life. Yeah. Obviously. See, you agree. I thought that made sense too. So we had an argument. It went for about 15, 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes back and forth. No other Q&A, just me and this couple. And he was like getting angry and like kind of stamping and real flustered. And I was still staying pretty chill, but I was a bit like, you know, this is kind of a bit negative, which is fine, but 20 minutes, you know. The speech ended up here and then it just started going down. And I'm all about responding, you know, like this. I see this man as my brother. I'm like, mate, I know you're trying to hate on me, but I'm not going to hate back. That's up to you. I'm trying to lift you up. I'm trying to teach you something. I'm trying to help you. That's all I'm doing here, you know? And that's where I'm coming from, right? That's my vibe. People in the crowd, a few vegans in the crowd, that perfectly match the description of what we were talking about earlier. Angry, aggressive, you know, all that sort of thing. They start chiming in with this guy. And I wasn't getting very far with him, but from then, the anger just increased and I got anxious. And I was like, oh man, this is like turning into a proper, like this is getting bad. And it was a really bad reaction. They were reacting badly. Everything just went down. And then I just thankfully remembered what I'd learned through thousands of hours of meditation, this Vipassana technique. And I did it. I observed what's going on. I accepted it rather than resisted it. And I went all ultra peaceful. I just went, oh, I'm so chill now. That's good. And I said to this man, like from this very loving, compassionate place, I said, listen, man, you're not my enemy. I know you might feel like I'm yours, but I'm not. I'm just here to spread a positive message. I understand you have a different opinion than mine. I don't respect your choice to harm these animals, but I do respect you as an individual, and I do understand that you have that opinion because it's a generational thing in your family. The society has taught you this is natural, normal, and necessary. I understand. That's why you're not my enemy. But what we're doing to these animals is wrong. It needs to stop. You know, and I answered him full of love and compassion. And I said, we're going to have to stop it there because there's like other questions. So thank you. And then the next question, I'm like, yeah, dude's like, how did you stay so calm just then? Like, what just happened? And I tried to explain, you know, as I kind of have tonight. And then after that, he comes up to me, still angry as. Comes up, what about this, James? What about that, James? And I was like, well, this and this. And he's like, you just got to answer for everything, don't you? And I was like, yes. Correct. And he said, that's when he finally changed. And he unfolded his arms and he kind of just laughed. And he goes, well, maybe I'll call you later on with more questions. And I go, I'll be waiting by the phone, man. And he laughed again. He shook my hand. And I was like, whoa, this turned real good all of a sudden. And then his wife, who was at least as angry as he was. So I didn't know what was coming from her. She's looked at me and she goes, thank you for opening our eyes to this, James. And I was like, so what? I was like, you're welcome, no worries. And what happened there, and this is, this is something I should have done during that vegan versus Christian, and what I do in every other opportunity, I realized that people are trying to bring you down, This man was trying to bring me down and have a fight with me, but nothing good happened there. In fact, I could have easily pushed him further away from becoming vegan. If that's all you can do, maybe it's better that that's not your type of activism, communicating with people. If you can't get past that, maybe that's not the thing for you. I realised I didn't want to have a fight with this guy, so I'm going to stay up here and be positive. And if he wants to stay down there, that's fine, but I'm not going down there. And he did stay down there for a while, and I'm like, I'm not going there. In fact, I'm going up here a little bit. And just like he can bring me down, you can also bring them up. And that's what happened. Through being respectful, through being loving, eventually he just started to become a little more respectful towards me as well, till we got to that position where he walked out of there with his wife, 2 dairy farmers, after I just spent an hour telling everyone they need to go vegan now. And he walked out of there being like, damn, that vegan, he had a good point. And he was a really nice guy. I didn't think they were nice people. He could have walked out of there being like, see, vegans, they're such idiots, they're so angry, they don't understand us. Let's go, let's tell everybody how much we hate vegans. He might still have done that, I don't know. But you see, that was one of my best, because it really just taught me that anybody can change. Hunters, slaughterhouse workers, dairy farmers, anybody can change. And that's the best way to help them do it. Yeah. So thanks for your question.
She wants to tell that she's vegan.
A little vegan.
And my question is, what advice do you have when you're married and you're vegan and your husband isn't?
Divorce? What? Oh, put the stop sign in the bedroom. That was going to be the next thing I said. It's a really good question. It's a really good question. Alright, we get it, man. We understand the stop sign analogy. Alright, man. There's children here. It's a really good question. It really depends, Some people would say, because this is tough. You're going to eat with them every day. They're not going to understand something so important to you, fundamentally, ethically, what you believe. It's quite a serious difference, in lifestyle choices, isn't it? But what I would say is this. Look, it's entirely up to anybody. Everyone's going to have different opinion on this. What I think about it personally, I would date someone who is not vegan, because everyone deserves a chance to be able to learn and understand and change. Would I marry someone who's not vegan? Probably I wouldn't be able to do that, personally. But if you're already married to someone and you go vegan, sometimes it takes people a while to understand this. We're talking about decades of conditioning, decades of lies and myths. It's a lot to take on for some people. And some people find it very challenging to change. We can't deny that. So my opinion is that everybody deserves the chance, the opportunity to be able to learn and to change. And it's really up to you how patient you're willing to be and how much you're willing to accept. Because I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of people whose husband's gone vegan, and their wife never was going to change, or wife's gone vegan, their husband said, I'm never going to change. You be vegan, I'm never going to change. And then they've changed. Because it is logical in every way. Health, environment, ethical. The food's amazing, you can still have everything you already love. There's really no reason not to. So I'm of the opinion that everyone is going to change with the right approach and with the right information. And so for me, I see everybody as just a matter of time. You know, and Ghani's got a good quote. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. They laugh at you, and then they fight you, and then they go vegan. That's basically what he's talking about, I'm pretty sure. So for me, I think, like, you know, patience is important, and don't expect them to just understand it straight away because you just all of a sudden made this connection. It does take people a lot of time. But obviously, yeah, divorce is still an option, so whatever. Your daughter was clapping. She's like, if Daddy doesn't go vegan, get him out of the house, man. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yo.
Hello.
What's up?
You said you've done some activism all around the world and different places. I was wondering if you're worried anywhere in the world about the vegan movement, if you think it's positive everywhere, or I don't know where you visited specifically, but are you quite positive all around?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've been quite a few countries now and quite a few more coming up. And what I see pretty much everywhere is movement in the right direction. Even, you know, a country like India, having me there and speaking at a couple of unis with crowds of, we're all good. Crowds of 500 or 600 people. For me, that's amazing progress. So almost everywhere that I've gone, I'm like, well, I'm here talking about veganism. There's a crowd here listening to veganism. You know, like, so I guess for me, just everywhere I go, I feel like it's progress, that I'm even there with a crowd, you know? And I think it's pretty a definite thing to be able to say that the vegan movement is growing everywhere. And at such a fast rate. More vegans, more activists, more information out there. You know, it's quite an amazing time for animals. I feel like it's a really special time. I'm so excited to be a part of it right now. The places that worry me, I guess, would be places that come with the highest amount of people who believe the toughest arguments. For example, the religious argument. So for me, the places I would find more worrisome are the places that are highly religious, that use their religion to justify ritual killing or killing animals because we have dominion over them and things like that. They're the places I would probably worry about most. Yeah, and I mean, the most interesting place I've been to, though, was India. A lot of them are vegetarian, and almost none of them were vegan, as far as I could tell. But when I told them about veganism, they weren't like, oh man, you're so extreme, right? They were like, whoa, I really envy that. And I was like, sorry, say what again, man? I really envy that. I really respect that. Can I talk to you about that? And I was like, this is every vegan's dream right now. I'm like, what do you want to talk about? I found that was really interesting. They actually really, you know, and that's how I feel like everyone should be. Whoa, you're doing something amazing. I can't do it right now for whatever reason, but I respect that you're doing something amazing. That's what I expect everyone should feel like. But I think, yeah, definitely I see growth everywhere. There's stories coming out of all countries. So I guess, and even if I didn't see that happening, our job's still the same, you know? Even if we were going backwards, our job as vegans, as people who know, is still to be active and be a voice and still do whatever we can and dedicate as much time as we can to make that happen. So for example, before this crew right now, there was vegans, and before them there were vegans, and before them, but there weren't many, right? But the work they did was still so important. It might have seemed like it was one vegan out of in a whole country, let's say. But whatever that person did, whatever seeds that person planted, mattered, and you know they built the foundation, and then the next crew built on top of that, and built on top of that, and built on top of that. And it's up to us now to build on top of that, because if we don't build now, if we don't do our job, our role now, then the next people will have to do it anyway, and it'll just take longer. So I think, like, even if it wasn't going in an amazing direction right now, and everything was, you know, really positive. There's a lot to be positive about. There's also a lot not to be, but there's a lot to be positive about. I think, yeah, that's definitely like the view that I have of it, and I try to see that, man. Like when I said just then, there's a lot that's not positive as well. And I give you some advice. I would say that you can focus on animal cruelty all day long. You can talk about it, you can think about it, you can watch the videos, you know, you can. But man, it's not going to be an easy life for you. You're going to probably burn out, you're going to find it stressful, you're going to probably harbour some anger. You know, there's so much to be positive about. And yes, the cruelty is there and it's not to be ignored, but there's also so much good that we can focus on. And I think, you know, when you do become vegan, you do kind of wake up into a nightmare, in a way. So I think that what's important to do to help yourself is to be aware that, yes, it is a nightmare, but there's also so many amazing things to focus on. I think that helps a lot. As a side story. Thanks for your question, man. Where's the thing?
Hello, I'm Josephine. I tagged you yesterday.
You what, sorry?
My name's Josephine. I tagged you on Facebook like yesterday.
Oh, okay.
That was me.
Sweet.
Right.
Hi.
So I'm quite interested in like religion and food. Like I'm studying to be a dietitian, and I was just wondering, when you were in India, did you find there were any issues? For example, like in Hinduism, cows are so sacred to them. Is it kind of hidden from view what happens to dairy cows? Is it the same practice in India? Are people aware what's going on with an issue like their god? Like, do they know what's happening? And because so many Hindus still drink dairy, but they don't even know what's happening. That's
yeah,
illegal.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. You know, so it's a similar thing where there's so many. Where are we? UK. What do we call them? Like, I know where that. But like, Brits. What's the thing? Aussies. Okay, yeah, sweet. So many Brits who say they love animals and are against animal cruelty, and aren't vegan. There's so many Hindus who say that the cow is, you know, like a god, who still consume dairy knowingly from large dairies. India has super dairies, which are massive dairies. I think they're the biggest dairy exporter in the world. If they're not number one, they're number two. I can't remember. Maybe it's China number one. They're massive. Biggest, yeah, and the biggest leather exporters as well. Yeah. So what I saw over there, I mean, I didn't see the big dairies, but I saw how the cows are treated on the smaller dairies. They walk around, like the places I went, you know, I went quite around India. It's quite a filthy country in a lot of places. They walk around eating plastic, filling their stomachs with plastic. A lot of them die from that. They still get exploited, they still get used, they still get their milk stolen from them. There's still cruelty involved. And I think we have a pretty good chance of being able to get them vegan by teaching them about store-bought milk and things like that. Like, you know, anyone who is going to live consistently with their belief that animal cruelty is wrong and that the cows are a sacred animal, you should be able to get them to go vegan pretty easy, I think. And I had really good experiences over in India, like I said. When it becomes tricky is when you are talking to somebody who has ahimsa milk, non-violent milk, that's what they call it, where there's no forcible impregnation, the baby still gets enough milk, they don't get killed after. So many of the cruelties have been crossed off the list. Now it's still exploitation, it's still taking something that's not yours, it's still creating more harm to the cow by creating more demand in this cow's body for milk, by milking more and things like that. There's still harm that is being caused. But you have a much harder chance, I think, because it's not so blatantly obvious. This is absolutely incredibly cruel. And I think that, yeah, like, it's a small percentage of the people that are getting milk like that anyway, very small. But I think there is definitely a really big space for activism in India and everywhere, but especially in India, towards vegetarians to become vegan. And one thing that happened while I was there, I did an interview with a newspaper, and the title of the what they called article was "Dairy is a crime against cows." And then I laid it out, man. and they'd never had an article anti-dairy in their newspaper before, ever. So it created so much tension. Excuse me. It created so much tension, they wanted to sue me over it. People were freaking out about it because they'd never actually thought, just like a lot of people here and in Australia, they never actually thought that dairy was cruel, that they were doing anything wrong. And a lot of people got angry and wanted to sue me. A lot of people decided, this guy's right, this is actually cruel. And I know, I mean, probably more than I know of, but I know of numerous people who went vegan because of that article as well. So, and that's a big thing. You know, not just there, but here as well and everywhere. There's a lot of vegetarians out there. They're doing it for ethical reasons. They think they're being ethical. They don't know the whole story yet. You know, that's a big area where vegans can get active and create some campaigns around, like directed towards vegetarians. All right, peace. No, we'll get there later. What time? How long have I been talking for, man?
56 minutes.
56 minutes? This is meant to be 45 minutes. Where's the bell? Alright, one or two more. Yeah, brother. Yo.
Hello.
What's up?
I was just wondering, pretty short question, how do we get more vegans to become activists? Because I went vegan and I went active straight after, and like, to me it's like a knee-jerk reaction, like how can you see this and not want to stop it? Like,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, great question, man. I think this is my opinion from speaking to a lot of vegans who aren't active. Why don't you want to be a vegan activist? I'm not interested in walking down the street, covering myself in blood and screaming meat is murder. That's what people think of when they think of activism and protest. And some of them are like that, and I wouldn't even say get rid of them. They have their place. You know, or like DXC, they do some bold stuff, man. Like they get into a supermarket, your local supermarket, they cruise on in and they're like, it's not food, it's violence. It's hectic, man. It's hectic. Like, people are like, I don't want to be a vegan activist. I shop there. I think the best thing we can do is show people the many, many ways that you can be effective as a vegan activist without covering yourself in blood. How fun it is. Like, for example, the Cube of Truth with Anonymous for the Voiceless, which is growing and one of my favourite forms of activism. People think if I go there, people are going to scream bacon in my face and abuse me like happens online. It's not like that, man. When you get there, people are like, oh, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you guys being here. You're doing a good thing. That's the majority of people. Those same people online probably would be like, bacon, whatever. But in real life, they're actually like normal, nice people. And I think that it's about breaking that idea in people's minds of what vegan activism, that's hard to say, what vegan activism is, and showing them that it can be fun, that you can contribute, that you can have a meaningful difference with people, that you can do it in so many different ways. And for me, that was huge. I don't look, I'm all for DXE and all of meat is murder, blood everywhere. I'm down, man, like do it. But I'm not going to do it. That's not my style. It's not the image I'm trying to portray. I'm trying to be a normal guy and get the mainstream to get the message through me. That's my thing. And I think that there's something there for everybody, and just to show them, okay, you're not comfortable with doing that. That's fine. What about this? What about you just come and watch this time and see, and just ease them in, just one step at a time, and before you know it, they'll be covered in blood. Meat is murder. So that'd be my advice. Thanks, bro.
Last question.
Okay.
How long have you been vegan?
That's a tough one. Thanks, good question. I've been vegan 3.5 years. I went vegan the day I started my vow of silence. I tried to be vegan before. I had a bad eating disorder, which was like a what's the word? It came about really when I was in hospital for cancer. I was being treated for cancer, and I was on this high dose of steroids that made me want to eat constantly, like 22 hours a day. I was always stuffing my face with food and being sick, but I had this insatiable appetite thanks to this chemotherapy that created a binging issue kind of thing, and then eventually that turn into binging and purging, spewing it up as well. And when I learned about veganism, I badly wanted to go vegan, but I couldn't go vegan. I didn't feel like I could go vegan. I'd go for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, be perfect, and then I'd just have an episode where I'd binge, and then purge it all up. And I'm eating it, and I'm just thinking about these animals. You know, I'm eating like ice cream, and I'm just thinking, man, I don't want to be eating this anymore. And then what happened for me is I planned my vow of silence. And on the day I started my vow of silence, I knew I'm not going to be able to keep doing this. You know, I'm putting myself out there in the public eye now, and I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize my credibility, which means jeopardize the credibility of veganism and everyone connected to being eating disorder or something like that. So I'm never, ever going to binge and purge again from that day, the day I went vegan, and that's what I decided. And for me, like, that was actually a really good way to do it, because sometimes you can toy with it for a while. You can do a little bit of it, do this and that, you know. I'm almost there, just every now and then I eat this or I eat that. For me, making that decision of saying from this day on and committing from this day on, I'm never going to knowingly consume another animal product. And when I really, I made that oath with myself, I took a vow, more than one on that day, my vow of silence, and I took a vow to never consume an animal product again. And for me, that worked really well. I said, that's it, never again. And 2 weeks, not even, 1 week later, I was alone in this town. I wasn't talking, and I was just I wanted to emotional eat. So I bought this tub of So Good ice cream. You got that here?
No.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, I got this So Good ice cream, which is delicious vegan ice cream, and I got a jar of peanut butter, which is, you ain't done this is a thing. Vanilla ice cream, peanut butter. I ate the whole thing of both, except left a little bit of peanut butter. It was disgusting. At the time I was like, oh my God, it's so good. And all I wanted to do after was spew it up. But I'd made that vow with myself, you know. I'd made that vow, and I didn't. I never have since. And I remember another time, I was at a service station. I was so hungry, and I saw these bars. I'm like, oh, I love these bars. They're vegan. And I get it. I'm like, hang on, I better just check if this is vegan. And I look, and I see goddamn honey on the back. It's like, why can't I be maple syrup? And I'm like, should I just get this? You know, I'm so hungry. It's just a bit of honey. Sorry, bees. It's just a bit of honey. And I just thought about that commitment I'd made, that very meaningful moment where I said that to myself, and I went, nah, I can't, and I put it down. So, that can be a tip for people who are kind of a bit iffy about it, a bit back and forward about it. You can suggest taking a proper commitment, a vow to themselves, and for me that worked very, very well. But I'm a vow guy. I do vows, vow silence and all that kind of stuff. That's my thing. So, everyone's a little bit different. Anyway. Well, this has been a good chat, man. Glad I didn't organise anything, because I think there have been some good questions. So thank you all so much for sticking around, for being here. I'm looking forward to meeting as many of you as possible. If you have any other questions that you didn't want to ask in front of anybody, feel free to come find me throughout the festival. I'll be chilling. I've got a speech tomorrow sometime. Don't ask me what time. And I also got a bunch of t-shirts. If anybody wants t-shirts, I got a bunch of t-shirts there in my one of them cabiny things, but you can just find me throughout the festival and I can run back and forth, whatever. What? Yeah. Alright, thank you.